Well, here's a story about the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. The previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, one second, let me make this a little bit lighter over here. There we go. That's better. The previous Lubavitcher Rebbe had a very a turbulent life. He began to be Rebbe in 1920 in Russia. That's when the communists really took over. They really started consolidating their power and their force. In 1927, he was put into prison and sentenced to death by the communists for spreading out Judaism. Shortly thereafter, he was released, miraculously released from prison. And shortly after that, in like 1929, the end of 1928, 29, he was evicted from Russia. They told him he has to leave Russia. He wanted to stay with his Chassidim, but he was being pursued. They wanted to put him back. Who wanted to put him back? Jews. There were Jews, communist Jews called the Yevsektia. They were very disappointed that he wasn't killed. Very disappointed. They wanted to. Anyway, so he left Russia, and then the next 9 years, 10 years of his life he spent in Poland and Latvia, Poland, and then he came to America. But they came to America was in 1940. Came to America. But when he was evicted from Russia, it was like in 1929. So shortly thereafter, his daughter got married to the Rebbe, to our Rebbe now. Lubavitcher Rebbe. Oh, yeah. She got married to him, and shortly thereafter, the Rebbe went to Israel. The previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he went to the land of Israel to pray at the graves of the tzaddikim, because he would go regularly to pray at the graves of his forefathers, his father, his grandfather in Russia, but they wouldn't let him go back into Russia. So he went to Israel to pray at the graves of the tzaddikim over there, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai, etc. And he visited other people. So he was in Israel for like 2 weeks, something like that. And then he went to America. He went to America, and just incidentally, very shortly, a couple of days after he left Israel, there were the massacres in Hebron. The massacres in Hebron, which was, something like what was just now, but a smaller number of people were killed and maimed. Anyway, there was a mess. So he got to America, and when he went to America, he was there for like 10 months or something. He was there and he went to different places in America. One of the places he went to was in Chicago. Now, there were already Hasidic Chabad working in America. The number, of course, was nothing like it is now, but and he was received with great honors and with this, and especially because he was known as the rabbi that defied the communists. And in America, there was a very strong anti-communist feeling back then, tremendous anti-communist feeling. So he was well known as the rabbi. Okay, so he came to Europe, to Chicago. This is 1930. And when he was in Chicago, one Jew over there, I guess a rich Jew, he said, "You can have my house, you can stay in my house, you can do anything you want to." And the whole upper floor, he said, can be for receiving people. And it was put into the newspapers. The newspapers, the holy Lubavitcher Rebbe that defied communism is here. So a big group of young people, and at one place it says it was 30, another place 20, anyway, young people, that they were college students in their early 20s, and that they were Americans, Jews, but they were Americans. They weren't particularly, a lot of them came from religious families. Their parents were religious. But in America, you weren't religious. It just wasn't the thing. why be religious? If you left your religion, you were pretty much accepted. It's not like it is now. Anti-Semitism is like, very popular. It's very proper. It's very good, brave to be anti-Semitic. But back then, it was it was not acceptable thing to be at least publicly anti-Semitic. It was so. So the more you left Judaism, the more accepted you became, and you worked. And Jews worked on Shabbos and everything like that. They just left Judaism. So these 20 fellows, they thought they were, smart and everything, and they just said, "Let's go and see this rabbi. Let's see what this guy's made out of." So they arrived there and they saw that the place was packed. There were a lot of people there, and they stood out on the porch, smoking cigarettes. Waiting for. Back then, it was a very popular thing to smoke cigarettes, also. So they were sitting there smoking cigarettes, and the Rebbe, meanwhile, was upstairs receiving people. People came to ask him advice, and so the Rebbe's secretary or one of the Rebbe's helpers came out to these young men and said, "The Lubavitcher Rebbe would like to see you." So they said, "But we're not. We came late. We're after all these people are waiting for us. Why should we?" He said, "No, he would like you to come in first." And so they all went into the Rebbe's room, and the Rebbe started taking chairs from other rooms and bringing. They said, "Rabbi, we can do that ourselves. You don't have to do it." He said, No. It's a very big honor for me that you're coming here, because." And after they all sitting down, he said, "I'll tell you what." He says, "These people, I know what they're here for. This person is going to make an operation, and he wants the blessing. I'm a doctor." He says, I can give blessings. I love Jews. I'll give him a blessing. This person's here. He wants to make a big business deal. I know about business. Another person, he's got a court case coming up, and he wants a blessing. He says, I'm a lawyer. I'm a judge. He said, "But you come here because of Judaism. And Judaism, that I'm an expert on. I'm an expert on Judaism." So the Rebbe gave them a little speech about Judaism, about going out of Egypt, what the idea of going out of Egypt is, and the importance of strengthening Judaism, that everybody should do a little bit more to be proud of his Judaism, to strengthen his Judaism. And that's it. So he thanked them all very much, and they all left. So they were tremendously impressed by this. First of all, they thought they were going to come and sort of scoff a little bit, and no, they were tremendous. He was such a nice person and so human to them, and he stressed the importance of being a good Jew, just because that's who you are. You're a Jew just to be good. So all of them went back out on the porch, and they discussed this. And each one said that they took on themselves that they're going to do something a little bit more. And one of them, a lot of them were college students. So one of them said that he has a job. He's a college student, but he has a job in what was it? I can't remember. In a shoe factory, I think. And I don't remember what it was, a textile factory, something like that. And he has to work there on Shabbat, and he's going to go and tell the boss that he's not going to work on Shabbat. He's not going to work on Shabbat. And so we did it. How do we know about this one particular boy? Because at that time, they were like 20 years old. 50 years later, maybe even 60 years later, actually, it was even more, to tell you the truth. Let's see. This was in 1930. So what's happened was like, 70, 75 years later. This fellow that I'm going to tell the story about right now, he was traveling around the world. And he went to a Chabad house in Johannesburg, and he told this story. And he said that the Rebbe had such an effect on us that almost all of us, we decided we're not going to smoke anymore on Shabbat. And a few of us decided we're going to put on tefillin. They're going to say they were going to put on tefillin. He said, as far as I know, all of them had a big effect, but I decided I'm not going to defile the Shabbat. And I had a job that I worked on Shabbat that I made money for. I was a college student and I needed the money. So I had this job on the side that I would work, and I had to work Shabbat. So I went to the boss and I told him that, I said in a nice way, I said, listen, I've decided that I'm not going to work on Shabbat. I heard this rabbi speaking, and he's right, and I want to purify my soul. I want to purify my soul, and be true to my soul. And I'm a Jew. And therefore, and if you want to fire me, you can fire me. I won't be angry. I'll understand. But I can't work on Shabbat anymore. I can't work on Shabbat. So the owner heard this and he was quiet for a while. And he said, so you're a Jew? And because you're a Jew, you're not going to work on Saturday? I said, no, I'm not. Please don't be angry with me. I'm not going to. And, I won't feel bad if you fire me. He said, and you're doing this because you want to purify your soul? I said, yeah. So what you want to have that your soul is going to be purified and my soul is going to be dirty? So what do you mean? He says, I'm also a Jew. And he closed the place on Shabbat. He closed his factory that they didn't work on Shabbat. He told the story that that's the effect that the previous Rebbe had of his genuineness and his truth. And that, a Jew has to be true to who he is. And that's the whole point of the previous Rebbe's life. Afterwards, the previous Rebbe went back to Poland. He stayed there, like I say, until the beginning of World War II. He was in Warsaw when it was bombed. And then he came to the beginning of the war, and he came to America and spent the last 10 years of his life in the USA. And he passed away on Yud Shvat, which will be this Shabbat. So that power of purifying our souls and being who we really are and being brave and positive, we have an extra blessing to do so this Shabbat. Okay, see everybody tomorrow, God willing. Friday, we're going to finish the Devar Malchut, the Devar Malchut that we started. Have a good day with Mashiach now. Thank you very much.
Shalom. Basilagani, you meant.
We finished Basilagani. We just finished it. Shalom.
Devar Malchus for the week, and then next week is a new one.
Yes, God willing. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.